This week, the technology helping American schools to prepare for the worst. We're hands-on with the new iPhone. And artificial intelligence meets its greatest challenge in the 1980s.
Battalion 1, Medic 109, they need you hot to the front of the theater. So far we have one party down.
In the United States, mass shootings are something that occur with depressing regularity. Libraries, churches, cinemas, and schools, all locations of acts of mass murder, often perpetrated by one individual with powerful military-style weapons. In the last 4 years, there have been more than 200 mass shootings in schools alone in the United States. The deadliest school shooting ever was in 2012 at the Sandy Hook Elementary School, where 20 pupils and 6 staff were murdered by a lone gunman. It made headlines across the globe.
Thinks there's someone shooting in the building.
And so, to help prepare for the next time, authorities have turned to technology that's normally used in video games to help train emergency crews and even teachers to be ready to respond. Just a warning, you might find some of the images in this film distressing.
315 and 314, there is at least one person that's been shot, but they're saying there's hundreds of people just running around.
I'm frightened, and I know that my constituents, for the most part, are frightened.
He's got a weapon. He's shot 3 times.
Unfortunately, these active shooter situations, and particularly in schools, aren't going away anytime soon.
We've got to go no lockdown.
You'll see in schools, they do more fire alarm drills than they do active shooter drills. Well, that's changing now in some schools.
The most recent school shooting in the US was just a few days ago in Spokane, Washington State. A high school student died confronting the shooter. The US Department of Homeland Security is trying to do something about these events.
There have been, unfortunately, a lot of copycats that have necessitated first responders getting more prepared to respond to these types of attacks.
So it's created a simulation to help train first responders to what it calls active shooter attacks. The simulator's called the Enhanced Dynamic Geosocial Environment, or EDGE for short. It's a video game which looks very similar to popular first-person shooters. Using a PC, a team of first responders can work together to resolve an active shooter incident in a hotel. Fire teams put out blazes, paramedics treat the injured, and cops deal with the bad guy. Orlando in Florida is a hub of serious simulation and training activity. Teams here at the ARL create advanced simulations, including using animatronics to teach medics how to deal with soldiers injured by IEDs. This facility is part of the Army Research Labs. They're primarily concerned with building simulation and training tools for the military. It's the birthplace, though, of the EDGE system, which we can see just through here. Designed in conjunction with simulation specialists, Cole Engineering, the research lab has used the Unreal Engine, the guts of a host of popular video games, to create its simulated environments.
One of the reasons why we connected with Department of Homeland Security is because we do have a lot of experience in the simulation world. And the good thing about what we've been moving toward is the use of game technology to provide those same capabilities that traditional simulations did in the past.
Time to try EDGE for myself. I can play as a firefighter, emergency medical, but I'm going to choose to play as a cop. In order to make the training as useful as possible, the active shooter is played by a human being. This introduces an unpredictable element that an AI would find difficult to replicate. I'm really surprised by how much this feels like an ordinary video game, graphically and in the way that it plays. actual first responders would play this game applying their real tactics and procedures to the situation.
Okay, I can see the bad guy. I'm in a firefight with him now. I managed to take him down.
While the hotel might feel like playing in a normal video game, the team here has been working on a new environment, one with far more chilling connotations: a school.
When there's a school shooting, it's completely different than when there's other types of soft targets hit. And it's very different than a traditional, if you have an active shooter event at a mall or a theater or something like that.
A new playable character has been introduced into the school environment. As well as cops, the player can take the role of a teacher. So, an active shooter event in a school, has it been discovered then that by the time law enforcement arrive, the event is over, that the shooter has killed people in the school and it's all over?
That is correct. So basically, the teacher is almost the first line of defense for the students in order to stay safe.
So, I've spawned in and I'm a teacher in a classroom. Here's my class of kids. Okay, I can definitely hear gunfire now. So I have a list of instructions that I can give to the kids in the classroom. In this instance, I think the safest thing to do is tell them to get out of the school completely. So this class has windows. So I managed to barricade the door to the classroom. I can see the shooter outside. He's shooting out that barricade. But I've managed to evacuate all of the pupils that I had in the classroom.
My class has survived, but the experience is an unpleasant one. This has definitely stopped feeling like I'm playing a game. For my final experience with Edge, I try the role of the person conducting the training. This means I have to play as the school shooter.
So we've worked with specialists in this, and we've also talked to people from the Sandy Hook incident. We've studied incidents at multiple schools.
If anything, it seems really quite horrible shooting innocent, unarmed children. It really is quite an unpleasant experience.
Actually, I have to admit, this was very difficult work for all of us. Most of us have children. And to dig deep and understand what type of stimulus the teachers are going to get from an event like this. What are they going to see? What are they going to hear?
I'm actually hoping that the cops turn up quite soon, to be brutally honest.
Switch over to cops?
Yeah, can you bring the cops in?
Yes.
Yeah. What has been the reaction from the world at large to the notion that an Army research lab is building simulation software to assist law enforcement to deal with school shootings?
Honestly, it's mixed. We've had some people who are very concerned that if we have a scenario like this, it allows people to train to attack the school. The truth is, that's impossible. The scenario is completely controlled so that only the people who can administer the game can invite people into the scenario.
Homeland Security is securely making the system available for first responders and soon teachers for free. While Orlando is home to the ARL, it's also a city which knows firsthand the carnage which can be wrought by a lone gunman with his sights set on a killing spree.
This is Pulse. It was a gay nightclub. Last year, it was the site of America's deadliest mass shooting. Omar Mateen, a lone gunman armed with a pistol and an assault-style rifle, killed 49 people here.
In the wake of the Pulse shooting, Florida State Senator Linda Stewart tried to introduce a bill limiting the sale of new assault-style weapons and large-capacity magazines. The bill did not pass.
Homeland Security has commissioned the simulation software, which is to train first responders and especially law enforcement in how to deal with active shooter situations. What do you think about that bit of software?
I think it's absolutely necessary. I think that the more hands-on or the more information that people who are having to respond have, the better they'll be able to respond in real time.
In the meantime, Homeland Security is hoping to create more environments for Edge, eventually building a generic Anytown USA for virtual training in.
I don't think that we can necessarily stop these events, but hopefully we can reduce the number or the severity of these attacks.
Hello and welcome to The Week in Tech. This was the week that Apple launched a new phone or two, more on that later in the show. The 2-year legal battle over the ownership of a monkey selfie finally ended. Long story short, it's not the monkey's photo. The US Department of Homeland Security has ordered all government agencies to stop using software from Russian security company Kaspersky Labs, after concerns about potential ties to the Russian intelligence services. The company's founder, however, has denied having strong ties with Russian espionage and say they cooperate with many law enforcement agencies around the world. Researchers at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory have shown a 3D printed structure that can fold itself up without the aid of heat or water. The team behind the structures believe they could eventually be used to make printable robots. And speaking of robots, 6 months after its debut in a single California restaurant, Flippy, the AI burger flipper, has apparently done so well that he'll be rolled out to over 50 other fast food locations in the state. Flippy uses cameras and sensors to see the world around it, and apparently cooks the perfect burger every time. And of all the jobs we thought robots would take, classical conductor probably wasn't high on the list. However, that's exactly what happened when You-Me conducted Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli and this orchestra at the Pisa Festival of Robotics. Fortunately for conductors everywhere, the robot can only replicate the movement of the maestro and is unable to respond to spontaneous change of tone or pace in the music.
It's unbelievable that it was only just over 10 years ago that Steve Jobs said this.
An iPod, a phone, and we are calling it iPhone.
The iPhone did something no smartphone had done before. It really brought the internet into our pockets with its high-quality, big touch screen, a good browser, and that great idea of pinch and zoom. It kick-started a new generation of smartphones. It defined the look that every other maker smartphone still adheres to, and in the process it made Apple the most valuable company in the world. So when a new iPhone arrives, the world pays attention. We did too, and Dave Lee was there.
Say hello to Apple Park, or the spaceship as everyone now calls it. Eventually, 12,000 people will work on this 175-acre site. It was designed by the British architect Norman Foster and cost a reported $5 billion, which makes it the most expensive building in America.
Mr. Jobs?
The headquarters is, in many respects, the last great project from Steve Jobs. This was his final appearance in public before he died. One last launch, not for a device, but for a building.
And so it's curved all the way around. As you know, if you build things, this is not the cheapest way to build something. There's not a straight piece of glass on this building.
6 years later, and I'm among those piling into the Steve Jobs Theatre, a purpose-built venue for the kind of product launches that Jobs made his trademark. You wonder what he would have made of the latest iPhone. New facial recognition software means you can unlock the device just by looking at it, a system that replaces the fingerprint sensor in previous iPhones. After a bit of a mishap, Apple's Craig Federighi did get it working.
Let's try that again.
The Face ID tech is also used to power what might be the most ridiculous but fun use of sophisticated technology ever.
And ferocious. It's a happy puppy. Check out the physics in the ears.
Animated emojis track my facial expressions to power the emoji and have different expressions, and this makes me laugh every time. So I can be this pig, and if I smile, he kind of smiles. If I raise my eyebrows, he does that. If I puff my cheeks, does that.
At $999 or £999, the iPhone X does not come cheap, which is why Apple is also bringing out an iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, a more incremental upgrade on last year's models. And for the first time for an Apple smartphone, it can be charged wirelessly, something that Samsung, it has to be said, has offered since 2015. The iPhone 8 Plus's camera now offers a way to artificially change the lighting on a picture, which it does by using the two lenses on the back to digitally simulate different lighting conditions. And the Apple Watch has been given a significant upgrade. It now has its own cellular connection built in, which means you don't need to take your phone with you in order for the watch to work. It's sales of the iPhone that have made Apple the huge company it is today. And the new HQ is a permanent reminder of the company's enormous power. Will the iPhone X continue the iPhone success into another decade? Apple seems confident, but then again, they might be talking poo emoji.
If you were by chance wondering what humanity would do when given access to the most advanced facial tracking technology available, you now have your answer.
This coding school in Paris has no teachers, no syllabus, no hours, and no fees. So what does it have? École 42 was created and funded by French billionaire entrepreneur Xavier Niel. He felt that the French education system could do better, so created this place for 18 to 30-year-olds to learn coding by effectively teaching themselves. This being a concept he'd already launched in San Francisco.
We have implemented something we call a peer pedagogy. It was a mix of the Freinet method, the Montessori method, what was done in and implemented in the Finnish educational system. It was very much searched and researched, so it is a model that has been tested and tried out a lot before it was implemented here.
Landing a place on the course is the first challenge. 50,000 applicants get whittled down to 3,000 for what they call La Piscine stage, which doesn't actually involve swimming, but more of a 4-week trial as to whether they'll metaphorically sink or swim. Only 800 to 900 will make the grade.
From the first day they arrive here on the site, we don't tell them anything, we don't give them anything. They have to figure out what to do with their login and password. They have to go find a room, how to work.
Those taking part don't even know what they need to do to impress, but they are aware that it's their peers assessing them.
There's no lectures and essays. You never quite know all of the information, so it takes a lot of trial and error. But it forces you to speak to your peers. So there's a lot of trying to interpret the exercises and working together with your colleagues.
It's really a two-way thing. It's not just me asking them for help, it's also them learning through all of my questions.
I've seen some people that come here just for fun, and fun is not why we're here. We're not here for fun, we're here to work and to get better and to improve.
Seems to be a friendly place. It's far more sociable than I'd expected. One of the main aims here is an educational meritocracy, giving everyone, no matter what their background and achievements to date, equal opportunity. And for that reason, a place to sleep is available. Whilst undertaking the course trial, some may just use it for a nap in the day. Others could be staying there throughout the 4 weeks.
And apparently a lot of the work happens between 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning, when the place is quite busy.
For me, because I don't have a salary, it's good to stay in this bubble.
But for those who make it onto the full course, 80% gain employment while still studying, with 100% getting jobs by the end.
I think the really special thing about the school is the ecosystem, where everybody who comes here is super ambitious and super motivated. And being surrounded by people who have that kind of mindset really pushes you to perform better in life.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can achieve when you teach yourself. And that's also true when it's a computer doing the learning. Artificial intelligence has been making great strides recently, and some of it has involved something that, well, would have been frowned on here: video games. But the truth is, games can actually be very educational for us, but also for machines, because they're being used to train artificial intelligences to solve problems. Their simplified environments are ideal. They have small sets of rules and commands. The scoring makes it easy to judge how well the AI has done, and the problems can be played out over and over again. Different types of games can train an AI in different ways. For example, this is Go. It's a board game with really simple rules, but it has so many possible moves that even a computer can't number crunch its way to victory. So Google's AlphaGo developed its own playing style in order to beat the human world champion. But a platform game teaches a machine more about the physical world, about timing, how to move, how to prioritise different tasks. There is one platform game that strikes fear into the hearts of many 80s gamers. And it's one that a group of students in California have decided to take on with their own homegrown artificial intelligence. Kat Hawkins went to meet them.
Walk around, find a coloured door, walk around, find a key, die, repeat. This is essentially what you do when you play Montezumas Revenge, and it can be very frustrating. Back to the beginning. Back to the beginning. Please, no.
Montezuma's Revenge is considered the hardest original Atari game, in part because there are so many obstacles to avoid and so much you need to do before you get any high score.
These three computing students from Stanford University were looking for a college project for their natural language processing course when they heard that Google's DeepMind project was trying to beat Atari games using their AI system. Intrigued, they tracked down the score sheet from 2015.
The graph is really impressive. You have certain games like Breakout or Pong where this agent is beating human performance by factors of 1,000. But there's one game at the bottom where the bar says 0%. And we were kind of curious about that. Why is it doing so badly on this game? 0% meaning the agent got a score of 0, no matter how long it trained. And that game is Montezuma's Revenge. And so we tried playing it, and we also got close to 0% the first time we tried. It's a really hard game.
But as enthusiastic students often do, they positively wanted a challenge. Google's DeepMind scoring 0 meant nothing to them. Let's build an AI system that can beat the game from our dorm rooms, they said. And so they did, building an agent that would follow simple human instructions in order to play the game.
So we can describe in English exactly what instructions we would give you right now.
Okay.
So we can pretend that you're the
let's
AI.
pretend I'm the AI.
So first we would tell you don't die. Because that seems to be a problem.
That is brutal.
But which, in all honesty, is something that it takes a while for the agent to discover on its own.
Did you actually say don't die?
Yep, and it made things work a lot better.
So they trained the AI to understand the human instructions. Don't die, followed by go left, jump across, get the key, for example. And then they gave it a reward.
Yeah, the same way you might incentivize me to fold my laundry by telling me I'll get $10 for doing it, we give the agent $10 in its own currency for solving the task we asked it to do.
But as is so often the case with AI, it started to do its own thing.
We thought we were being clever by telling it to go down a ladder to start off the game, because that's the path to the key, and that's what you need to win. The agent wants to follow our instructions, but it also wants to get the key because the game gives it a large bonus for doing so. And what it learned was that it could go down the ladder just a little bit, and then ignore our instructions and jump right to the rope. It was really weird at first. We thought our algorithm was broken. It points to one of my fears with artificial intelligence more generally. Sometimes when we describe what we want, an agent can interpret it differently from how we intend. And that can have devastating consequences if the actions are more serious than steps in a video game.
What's exciting about this AI system is how the students envisage it being used out of the game world and in the real world. Whoever said playing games in university is a waste of time should really take a look at what these students are achieving.
There you go.
That was Kat, and that's it for this week. Don't forget we live on Twitter at BBC Click and on Facebook too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.